All right, I've lost a follower. Well, I have just posted the front page of the article that I mentioned in my last video. I think that one was titled Yale Law Journal's probably expose on court corruption, something like that. Anyway, it was my last video. And in the details, I said that I would be providing the information about this report that I found in 2006, and it was published in June of 2006, which I said in my last details, it's awfully coincidental that this was published a month after Multicare took me to court. And it describes, similarly to the way that the psychoanalytical intellectuals September publishing describes what they did to me, what he did when they did, his group did to me, his flying monkeys. This also describes what was practiced on me. And that June 6, 2006 article smacks of CIA, global intelligence, and the Third Reich. So what is the Third Reich? Well, the Third Reich was a group of researchers in Germany during the days of the Holocaust. And those researchers, when the World War II was ended, those researchers did not pay the price for the research they did. The researchers never pay the price for, it's just their jobs. It's just their jobs. And so, for appearances, a couple of the head military officers were hunted down and sentenced, but the researchers aren't. That's a safe place, right? So the researchers were scattered, and Canada especially, and the United States as well, hired them into the military. They hired them into universities where they could continue their research. The research was actually, the compositions of the research was actually brought here to this country so they could continue their research. And they do their research on us. Yes. And it's just a fact. So the evidence is in, there's enough books on it. I have read so many books. I've got a few of them in my library, and it's been proven in courts over and over again. I mean, how they destroy us is crazy. But ultimately, what I'm saying here, for their research, right? It's psychopathy. That's what it is. It's ungodly. That's what it is. One time I was watching a video of an interview of a research into this. Oh, it was before they called it the mRNA, but it was recreating, not a test tube. What was like the transhumanism, like the beginning of the transhumanism movement. And the interviewer asked the researcher if he had discovered God yet. And the researcher just got this horribly wicked look on his face. And he said, not yet. I mean, it's like, you devil, you rotten devil. And he knows it, you know what I mean? He knows. It's like he's challenging God. So, and that's, that's what they do. So, that September 2025 publication of the psychoanalyst intellectual deep thinker was all about challenging God. So, it's like, keep it up, Homer, keep it up. So, I said in my last video that I would share this, and I started thinking this morning, what is my purpose? What is my purpose here? Well, my purpose over the last 22 years has been to find somebody to help save me, and it's also been to let people know what was being done to me. And I found many people who, on different levels, it was being done to them too. And they were afraid for me, and I was afraid for them. But the layering, I think, with me was different than the layering was for a lot of people. A lot, I say a lot, okay? I mean, it seemed a lot at the time. I mean, even one affirmation was like, huge for me. This was all new to me. So that's for sure. So, they were being hit by one level. I was being hit by one entity. They were being hit by one entity. I have been being hit by more than one entity. So, the three I talk about, right? There's the three mains, but it's been overwhelming. So what is my purpose? Well, my purpose at first was just to survive and find help. There was no help. It was all me. It was all me. I was crazy. I was hysterical. Oh, and horny. I was horny. And a cougar. I was a horny cougar. All right. Yeah, that was me. I was a horny cougar. I was chasing those young doctors around. Oh yeah, I was all about that. Misogynist slander. It's disgusting. So, I see women who want to be sexy, and I'll say this, and you can laugh and go, well, you're not, and that's fine. I don't care. Sexy has never been on my horizon of things that I aspired to being. It's like, that's, go for it, girl. I don't care, but I just, it's never been in my realm to consider. Everybody likes to look nice, but clean. I like being clean. That's my thing, as clean as I can be. So that is my thing. So, and I'm not that good at it because the house is a mess right now. But anyway, so all right, well, as it goes, my purpose now, I've defined my current purpose, and I've been off and on the internet now for how many years? 20 years, I guess. 20 years, 19 years. And my purpose, part of my purpose, I guess I should probably, I've got a tablet here. I should probably write an itemization of my purposes. I mean, my purposes were changing over the years because they kept doing different things to me, and I was learning different information. So when they first started taking me to court, at first, when they first started the mind fucking of me and infiltrating my life and everything, my purpose was to ignore them. Just ignore them. That's what my mom said too, just like moms say, just ignore them, And then my mom started realizing this cannot be ignored. This is really serious. My mom was one of my first affirmations of how serious it was. But so my first purpose was just to understand what was going on. When they took me to court, my purpose became to defend myself from their allegations and to tell other people what they were doing to me to find help defending myself. And it was way over everybody's head. So none of the mental health clinicians were prepared. And they were being directed, no doubt my first therapist, right after the Ambien, was being directed by Multicare and that doctor. They asked me, the Multicare doctor asked me if he could communicate with my therapist. And what did I say, all drugged up? Oh, yes, please help explain. Aw, what a caring doctor. So right out the gate, it was already what he was saying, right? I was bipolar. There was alcoholism in the family. I was having problems with my marriage, and definitely childhood issues, right? It's always we have childhood issues. They don't have childhood issues. Now, when they took me to court and I was in the process preparing for court, I was in the process of defending myself. I was getting help, actually. The street minister was the one who told me, a fellow I didn't even know, a very smart fellow. He's the one who told me I'd lost. He said, "You've lost already. You can't beat them, even if you're innocent. So gather as much as you can of what you think is evidence." So I was all over it, getting evidence. And my neighbor, who was a daughter of a doctor and a nurse, stepped into it and said, search the internet to see what you can find on these people. At the time, she didn't really know who those people were. So ultimately, when she learned who those people were, she became an infiltrator for them, a flying monkey for them. And they had already had one planted in my life very early on, right when I got out of the hospital from the Ambien. An old friend, she was actually a co-worker from years before, suddenly showed up in my life, and she ended up playing a big role in infiltrating and being a spy. She was. It sounds nuts. It's been nuts. So what I found on the internet during my research, and I gave a copy to the courts too, but the courts destroyed all my exhibits. Yes, they did, in 2013 or 2014. I've already said that. But it was in that research where I found out that the doctor's father was a psychiatrist at the Western State Jail Hospital. That's when I found that out. And I wasn't as much interested in that as I was in a deposition that he and some of his cronies had written in response to a woman who was trapped at Western State Hospital Jail in Lakewood, Washington. And she was asking in her own deposition for them to stop experimenting on her with drugs. I don't know that experimenting was the word she used. I can't remember exactly what the words were. I'm sure the internet's been scrubbed all of all of that, because Diane Cecchini over there at Multicare had the internet scrubbed of a lot of stuff on her. So there used to be a lot on her. She was not liked. So and for good reason. Man, oh man, what a corrupt operation. But anyway, it was really that her request, and what she said, what she stated in her request, and she had an attorney, and she was all she wanted was for them to stop using the drugs on her, and she stated the reasons for why she wanted them to stop. It was that simple. That simple. And the response from that doctor's father and his cronies to her request was so slandering, and so defensive that it was it was obvious, it was just obvious that they were already positioned to defend themselves from having fucked her up. They were already setting it up that she was already fucked up, and so she is incapable of proving that they're the ones who did it to her. That's the crux of what that deposition was. And I asked, the judge in the Multicare versus Judy let me subpoena them. I wanted to subpoena the medical assistant because she had wrote a pretty shitty deposition about me, and I felt like the accusations in her deposition should have been said to my face as an accuser. That's my right, that my accusers state it to me face to face. But the judge denied that subpoena, but he allowed the subpoena of those medical doctors. And I was out of order. I didn't let them present their case. I presented my defense before they even presented their case. I thought they had presented their case in all of the paperwork they had filed against me. So, but nonetheless, okay, it went out of order. And when the attorney complained about it, the judge was pretty like, so what? You know, it's not like we're going to let her win this anyway, right? It was already preordained that I was going to lose. So, but I had hope, you know. I mean, all they were doing really was getting a restraining order against me. That's all they were doing. But in my mind, I thought, I have never done anything in my life to deserve having a restraining order made against me. I was so egreged by what they were doing already, because by the time the court rolled around, it was June. It was April of 2006, and they had been attacking me already psychologically for a year, at least a year. And I think it did happen. It was happening before then, but it was subtle. But then it became overt to me, covert to other people, but overt to me. So, he let the doctors be subpoenaed, and really my only question was, because they were spreading around that they were afraid of me. And this came up just the other day when I was triggering too, the trigger that I haven't posted yet a compilation of. I was afraid to tell the manager here where I live about being disturbed by some people when I should not have been disturbed by them. And I was I was afraid to tell the manager, because I was afraid that my being disturbed was going to make them afraid of me. Because that's how it's been presented to me, that when I express to Chase that they owe me $27,000, all of a sudden they're afraid of me. They're afraid because they're robbing me of $27,000. That's what they're afraid of. And they're afraid because I have the balls to actually go to their faces and say, hey, you robbed me of $27,000. You need to pay me. But they don't operate that way. They operate where, oh no, you have to get an attorney and you have to, hire this if you're trying to get the, yeah, oh yeah. So, um, so and the same with Multicare. Oh, they're all afraid. They're all so afraid. They should be afraid. If the United Healthcare CEO had been afraid, well, I guess he was a little bit. His wife said he asked a couple of times for security. But you know what? He wasn't so afraid that he didn't stop the shit he was doing. If he'd stopped the shit he was doing, he wouldn't have to be afraid. Not as much. He wouldn't be a target on his back from the people he's hurting. So they don't listen. They don't listen. They don't care. And it's really unfortunate that the psychoanalytical, intellectual deep thinker and I are at odds with each other, because with what he wrote in September 2025, we should be allies. But we're not. So anyway, the only reason the judge let the doctors be subpoenaed had nothing to do with him caring about what the truth was. What he wanted those doctors to know, including the medical director, because I subpoenaed him too, only to ask them, are you guys afraid of me? And they were like, no. Okay, get off the witness stand then. Let me get that worm back up there. Robert, you know who. I don't even like saying his name. But I handed him that deposition of his father's against that woman. And if I would have been a good attorney, I would have been saying, well, what's this about? And all he said was, that's how I learned. Okay. I didn't know what it was he learned. And if I would have been a good attorney, I would have asked him, what exactly did you learn here? You know what I mean? He knew it too. He groaned. He flippin' groaned, okay? I have never been able, I paid a deposit trying to get copies of the stenographers' files there at the court, but I never could afford them. And when the courts say that you can get them if you're poor, bullshit. Those courts are so off limits. So anyway, I was never able to get the hearings, testimonies or records or anything, so I couldn't afford it. And that's part of why they want to put us into poverty, to make it difficult for us. And we're the ones that they're using. Ultimately, over time, what I started realizing from that deposition that I filed was that this guy's father, psychiatrist's father, was a Third Reich. Yes, he was. I mean, maybe he wasn't in World War II. And who knows? He was an old coot. Maybe he was. My dad was in World War II, and he was probably close to the age of my dad. So maybe he was in World War II as a Third Reich. But either way, he was operating, whether he was or wasn't, he was operating like a Third Reich Nazi. That's what I've concluded, and I think it's indisputable. So so my purpose then became to defend myself. When the situation became bigger than me just saving myself and defending myself, was when I learned about Rick. So Becky doesn't want to deal with it. She wants to believe her brother was unstable, and yeah, he killed himself on Ambien, but he was already unstable. That's what I was too. That's what they were spreading all around. I'm unstable. HIPAA, never mind HIPAA. Right? Forget patients' privacies. They were spreading my shit all over town, and lies. Crazy. I didn't know how branched out their reach was. I mean, I knew that the doctor and the CEO were military people, officers, but I didn't realize how much power they had outside of just their own little worlds of what they did at Multicare. And I learned about, Cecchini's having first choice. I think it's called HMO. Had it. It was out of Seattle, and I don't think I learned about that until I started investigating, until I started getting my medical records. And I don't remember exactly, but when I started getting the medical records in 2018, and I started doing the research on that, and I don't think I realized, but I'm not sure of what time frame it was, that I realized that she had hired their Blue Cross Blue Shield business development manager on as her CEO of her HMO. She stepped down as CEO and went on to be the board of director, the head board of director, and he became the CEO of her HMO. And she had owned that HMO since like 1972. So that was her own little private gig she had going on. So it's been a learning curve, but when I realized Rick, and then I realized Misty, and the same things were being said about them that had been being said about me, although I don't think Misty and Rick got the privilege of being called a cougar and I mean the things that they were saying, that I had been making advances towards a doctor, and he was spurning my advances, and I was just mad because he had rejected me, and it was horrible. It was horrible. And they were literally making me a laughing stock, and I was in no condition to refute it. I was in no condition to refute it. So I was begging for my life from them. They didn't care. So my purpose with Misty and Rick, even though the levels for me, like I said, there was Chase, there was Multicare, and then there was this psychoanalytical, deep thinking, intellectual, and that group, and then it became worse when they planted me at the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, while I was going through benzodiazepine withdrawals. That turned into, they made a joke of me there. The human resources did. I say it. I wish I would have said, I think I need to get a lawyer before I talk to you people. I've still got the note that human resources gave me about what they wanted to know about what was going on with me and those 2 restraining orders against me. And instead of saying, I think I need a lawyer right now, and it was going on, they had dropped somebody on the second day. This was in 2013 when Concept Solutions hired me. Concept Solutions out of Virginia hired me to contract at the FAA in Renton. And Renton was very bad news for me. That's for sure. But I contracted there, and my second day there, I picked my desk. I was the first one of three of us that Concept Solutions put there. One was a gal out of Alaska. The other was the wife of a guy who had worked there for 20 or 25 years. And then the other one was me. I was the first one to show up. So I picked my desk and my cube was in between what the other cubes were. I didn't know who was going to be there, but I picked the one in between. They gave me the crappiest equipment. The wife of the guy who worked there and the Alaska chick, Eskimo, little Eskimo, they had stellar equipment, and my equipment was garbage. And my second day there were two Rite Aid catalogs. Rite Aid used to make these little catalogs, these little health catalogs. And sitting on my desk, there was nothing else on my desk but those two Rite Aid catalogs when I got there in the morning. That was a mind fuck for me. Okay, that was a mind fuck. And the mind fuck went straight back to Multicare. Not only did it go straight back to Multicare, but it went straight back to Rasmussen on Mercer Island, the Multicare's risk management attorney. And these are things that I'm learning along the way, right? So Rite Aid was a big deal, and I've talked about that before. And I don't know, and I'll never know, because I would not want to be the psychoanalytical, deep thinking intellectual. I would not want to be him right now. I don't know if he knew. I don't know if he knew about Rasmussen. I don't know if he knew about the Rite Aid connection with Multicare. And I don't know if he understood that government capabilities were also being used against me. Crazy. I'm telling you, military, it's bad. I sound like George Bush Sr. Military, it's bad. He always talked in parables. I feel like sometimes I'm talking in parables. 1,000 points of light facing at each American. Not good. But I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what the psychoanalytical, deep thinking intellectual was, knew or didn't know. I think he thought he's been at the helm of whatever this is, but he wasn't, and I fully believe that he was lied to. I do believe he was given a false dossier on me, and so here we are. So when I was at the FAA, they were mind fucking me, and I was going through benzo withdrawals. It's like, Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ, really, man, without him, without him. So 33 minutes later, so what is my purpose? My purpose was always to defend myself and my honor, if you will, if I have any left. I suppose I do. But to defend myself and to have I want the court records to prove what these people have done, and there's enough evidence for it. So now that I understand as much as I need to understand, I don't really give a fuck about their opinions. It's like, are you kidding me? I don't care what happens. I don't care if they throw themselves off a bridge. I don't care, because they did not care about me. And the September 2025, that September 2025 write-up from the psychoanalytical, deep thinking intellectual was spot on. But what I know is I wasn't the only subject for him. I wasn't the only subject for him. What he's writing about is what he's observed with many people. And I don't even know, I've told my therapist this, I don't even know if it's been him all of this time or his associates, and he's got plenty of them, or if it's the military still. I mean, I don't know who. I don't know, because it's all done in ghosts. It's all done in ghosts. So I think I know, like, I've developed an understanding of the corporate personality of J.P. Morgan Chase versus the corporate personality of Multicare versus the corporate personality of the psychoanalytical, deep thinking intellectual. So, whose name I can't say, but who cannot, I don't think, prevent me from putting the case numbers on my channel for people to go read themselves. Now, there's not a big benefit for me of doing that, because the case represents their sides. The cases don't represent my sides. My sides got destroyed. And so the best, what I would have to do is give those cases and then present more evidence outside of what is in the court, I think. And maybe that needs to be my next step. Now that I've gotten this, because I've just been thinking, I've got this, and I want to file this in the courts, definitely in Multicare versus Judy, definitely. And maybe what I need to do now is to take copies of the King County Crisis and Commitment Services file, which I'm pretty sure I have here. If not, I'm pretty sure I've got it in my database. If not, I can order it. But I really feel like at this point, I'm healthy enough that I'm ready to file a massive amount of paperwork in that court, but not as exhibits. I will never file an exhibit again. No, they will be part of depositions, maybe even motions, because I really want both of those cases vacated. And they presented to that chauvinistic, sexist, misogynist bastard Leroy McCullough, who was cutting a deal with his EO policies for his buddies, his black buddies, to get them back on at Williams Kastner law firm to get special cases. Well, that's okay. It's like, yeah, they should have been giving special cases to the black people just as well as they were giving them to the white people. So I'm not opposed to that. But you know what? The motherfucker did it on my back. And you know what? That shit went on my back when I was in public school, when I was 15 years old, and it didn't do me any favors back then, and it hasn't done me any favors in my entire life. And I'm sure that a lot of black people would agree with me and not be mad at me, because they know. Because, yeah, it's because I'm not a liar. I'm not a liar. 14 and 15-year-old kids don't need to be bussed without supervision, clear the hell across town to be exposed to who knows what. That was part of destroying the fabric of this nation. That's what that push was. They're about destroying the family unit. The elites are, the Illuminati and all that. I believe it. I just pulled an article the other day about the CIA. It's on the CIA's website. A lengthy article on the Illuminati and who they are, the families, the bloodlines. And this chick down the hallway from me started talking bloodlines. I got a book for you on bloodlines. She never did get the book for me because she was busy talking about maybe she should make her hair blood red and cutting it crooked like mine. She's fuck her. So I'm still in hiding. I think I'm ranting now. But yeah, I think I'm at the point where where I'm ready to make a composition and file it there with the court to show exactly what the court's allowed to get done to me. Exactly. It's not new news. It's not new news. So I started thinking, no, wait a minute. The okay, the best I'm going to give the psychoanalytical, deep thinking intellectual is this, that his version simplifies what I have already shared in my last video, and it's information that I've had for many years. Probably I got it around 2009, maybe longer back, but on psychological harassment and manipulation. It looks a little bit like somebody kind of took control of that website and maybe is trying to make it appear, I don't know if they're trying to make it appear to be lunacy or if they are actually experiencing things that are absolute lunacy, not on their part. But I mean, it's easy to become a lunatic when you're being psychologically harassed and targeted for murder by suicide. So one thing his September 25th, 2025, September 25 article does is it condenses. For me, it's like a condensed. I did not find it boring at all. I wouldn't read the people that he cites, that he quotes or refers to to support, his conclusions, or what it seems that he's drawing conclusions to, but it was not boring. And I know I was not the only subject. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that he did not get the right reading on me. It's unfortunate that we cannot be allies. I know we can't talk to the doctors. That's what the Multicare ran out and told me in the parking lot. You can't talk with the doctor. Yeah, no shit. You can't listen anyway. That's a little talk about a guy in his own head. Well, anyway, so that's what's going on here. So I just wanted to show that I do have this, and I posted the front page here in the posts area where I can put photos, and I wanted to state my purpose. And I've already stated the things that have totally, like, I haven't even said everything. So, I mean, you can't state it. 22 years of being hammered on. I mean, it would take me 22 years here to go over it all. But I'll tell you what, I think it's time now for me just to lay it out in the courts. And I want those orders vacated. They should be vacating them. I mean, I got a hold of McCullough after I lost the job at the FAA. What was going on at the FAA was, in Renton anyway, was obscene, and I am not. I'm at a place where I'm not socially acclimated anymore. I don't fit into the social constructs. So, but I was. The cases against me in the courts were the human resources at the FAA. When I confided in them, in fact, I was crying. I had nobody helping me, and I was all by myself and afraid. And so when the human resources woman asked me to go in and explain to her what was going on, I did, and we spent probably about an hour in there, and I was crying. And when they weren't expecting it, I opened the door to leave, and standing right at the door were the two IT guys, and they were listening with they were both Alaskan women, and the other Alaskan woman was standing with them, and they were listening at the door to what I was saying. And then all of a sudden, sexual innuendo was being said to me, within earshot, and said directly to me as well. And people were, the gossip spread through the place. Not Mike. Ray, one of the IT guys, Ray, was a dirty pig about it, but Mike was not. I know that Mike did not like how the office was spreading and interpreting those cases against me. And I don't want to get him in trouble. Mike, well, it's been too many years now anyway, but he let me know in a subtle way that that they were the ones in my computers and stuff at work anyway, but it seemed like also outside of work as well. I mean, I couldn't differentiate. And then everybody at the FAA said that I scared them. I scared them because I told a very obnoxious black woman to keep her hands off of me because she kept touching me intimately. She waved her pen in my face and almost clipped my eye. And she was that way, passive aggressive. And I told her to stop it in front of people. And everybody seemed shocked that I had the nerve to tell her to stop it. And finally, because she was rubbing me all over my back and my arms and stuff, I finally said, I sent her an email and I CC'd it to our manager. And I said, look, I've already told you to keep your hands off of me. I don't like you touching me intimately. I've said it, and you still do it, and you need to stop. And because I used the word intimate, then it had to go into a big investigation. They couldn't just walk up to her and tell her to keep her fucking hands off of me. She had brought one of the Army guys, because a lot of Army guys come to work at the FAA, and one of the Army guys, and he was a black guy too, and he came over one day to talk to me at my desk, and we were talking. He had been in Iraq, and he was telling me about how awful it was. And he was telling me that he was hoping that he could get disability because his back was injured. And he said sitting at the FAA every day was killing his back. And he was nice. And we were just talking about other things too. And she came up and it was none of her business. It was none of her business. And she came up and she took totally over the conversation. And she told him he needed to shut his mouth and stop crying. She said, "You're going to be you're lucky to even be here," and she said, "And if you're lucky, you'll get on permanently." But he was like, "It's killing me sitting in that chair," because they sit in those chairs all day. Half of them there sit in their chairs all day and they don't do a thing. They make minion memes and stuff. They do, trying to stay busy. They don't do anything. I was driving him nuts. Men can't do that. Not real men. They can't do that. It was driving him nuts. I understood. It's like, sure, no. I get that. Within weeks of starting there, I would leave home. I was so proud to get hired there, contracting. I was like, man, this is one of the premier federal agencies. I was so proud. And within weeks, I was like, I would leave crying. I would cry on my way home. Oh my God, this is the government. First of all, I realized how they only live budget to budget. Second of all, I saw how private people were taking huge advantage of whatever the government needs. The private sector is going to fuck them over to the maximum. That's through corporations. To individuals. In Alaska, especially, individuals would own property that they needed for, to put towers or whatever on, and the amount that they were paying in leases was just insane. I was in logistics. So, yeah, and then you know what she said while she's there and she's telling him just to shut up and get back to his desk. Well, she was nothing to him, and vice versa. So anyway, she said, so right there in front of him, she said to him, she said to me, she said, Judy, what they do in war is when they capture the enemy, they put their penises in their mouths. Yeah. I'm sure my psychoanalytical, deep thinking intellectual would know all about why she would be saying that. In Washington, that's rape. 4-year statute of limitation. Except they won't take the report. So, yeah. Anyway, my purpose is, I think, to actually expose the courts. And I know, I get the Pam Bondi, gosh, I just really, we're redacting out the names of the innocent and blah, blah. Well, I don't feel like I need to redact anything because the people who let this happen are the people who let it happen. King County Crisis and Commitment. The psychoanalytical, deep thinking intellectual told them he was going to shoot me. And instead of their reporting that to the police, and Andy said he's going to shoot them. He told them he was going to shoot them. So they reported that to the police, and the police never got a hold of me. Never talked to me about it. Never gave a rat's ass about me. And they knew that I said he raped me. Get the fuck out of here. And they believed me. King County Crisis and Commitment Services, they believed me. There was no reason not to believe me. There was nothing in it for me to say. He was attacking me. Not the other way around. I was trying to defend myself. You can't. I can't. They couldn't. They wouldn't let me. So, Cynthia Sobey over at the Washington State, all of them. Sean McKinley over at King County Commitment. All of the police. There's no reason that their names, why would they be worried about it? They don't care. And it shows. The women here at these courts when I was trying to get protection here. So, that's what he's writing about on September 2025. Supposedly, he's not going to be attacking me anymore. We'll see. So everybody can decide whatever they want from the hearing about the marshmallow they turned me into way back then with the psych drugs and with the psychological harassment and manipulation. But I want those orders vacated. That's what I want. And if the only way that I can do it, I asked, and I was talking about the FAA, when I saw what that did to me, what it already had done to my mortgage loan officer career by 2012, and then what it did to me at the FAA, there was no doubt, even going through benzo withdrawals, I could realize those court cases were ruining me. The court cases gave all of those people the ability to use them against me everywhere I went. Everywhere where I tried to make a living, to survive, to have a social life again, they were able to use it against me. So I went to the court. I'm going through benzo withdrawals, and I'm asking the courts to vacate. And I didn't even know what I was asking them. And I wanted to go talk to Leroy McCullough, but his buddies at the court, the woman in the entry saw me coming and notified, I think her name was Catherine, his clerk inside the courtroom. And before I could get the courtroom door open, she met me outside. She met me outside and she said, "You're not coming in here." Because I wanted to walk right up there because he was in session and I was going to sit in the courtroom to wait until it's over and say, "You ruined my life, you asshole. You let them ruin my life." And what happened with Multicare versus Judy, it set the precedent for the psychoanalytical, deep thinking, intellectual loser to do the same thing to me. Twice. Twice is the big numbers. I don't know why. I don't care why. I want the orders vacated. So that's my purpose now. That's my purpose. So this has helped me. This has helped me. And my therapist has said, now when you do the videos, you can see yourself. And it's like, yeah, I can see myself. And what they have done, you can see too. You will see by the time I'm finished with everything that I've done here. Besides that, the name that I can't say, he knows. He's written about it. I mean, I didn't really want to follow him, but I would get a call from somebody or an email saying, he's over there saying, blah, 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 he's going to come where you are. He's over on his, and then I'd be back listening to him. So it became a situation where I was not following him. I could have cared less. I was trying to save my life. I'd lost my home. Losing my home was right up there with going through the benzodiazepine withdrawals. Losing my home just undid me. Losing my husband too. Only recently have I had, since the psychoanalytical who has stopped, or his flying monkeys or whatever have kind of stopped. I guess everybody's getting the memo. I've had time to grieve the loss of my ex-husband. And I needed to do that. So, yeah, so that's good. Not that I plan on moving on. I just, yeah. I need to finish this up. I need closure. And my closure is by getting those orders in the court vacated. Neither of these entities are going to do that because they would have to admit that they were wrong. They would have to admit that they were wrong. And they can't do it. It's vanities. Ecclesiastic vanities. Vanities and vanities. They can't do it. Especially, I think that the psychoanalyst could. I don't know why I even put any faith in him, but I think he could, except he's got serious mental health issues. He's avoidant. He's, Jelaine said he's diagnosed antisocial and bipolar. I see that he's avoidant too on top of that. So, like Dr. Grande talks about the layering, and probably suffers from some anxiety. And one of his friends said that he goes through depression, or when she met him, he was horribly depressed. And I guess with the things he's done in his life, he should be depressed. But I'm going to keep the faith that he is going to ultimately admit in somewhere that he was wrong with what he did to me. So he probably won't, though. He's got a pretty huge ego. And I don't think the Multicare doctor, if he's even still alive, I don't think they could. They are so vain. They are so absolutely vain and bold. I mean, I said to my therapist, how bold is it to be harassing, terrifying, and manipulating somebody that, how could they perform medical malpractice on me, slander me, defame me, drag me through court, humiliate me, shame me, and infiltrate my life along with my insurance, Geico, with all of them, and have the audacity when I move over 2,000 miles across the country to move within half an hour to 45 minutes of where I live. That's audacity. I don't care who they know here. Common sense says we don't go to where Judy's living. That's common fucking sense. That's decency. That's decent. They have no decency. And that's, I know that from the way that all of those Multicare doctors treated me. What they did was so degrading that I don't think they could have done it to a man. Well, I mean, they gave me a hysterectomy when I didn't need it. They couldn't have done that to a man. They wouldn't have done what they did to me to a man. So, and I told John the other day what Dr. Greeley did to me and what happened to me when I had an MRI. I've had MRIs, plenty of MRIs before, and I had an MRI before Thanksgiving of 2005. What they did to me in 2005 was they put something in the mix. I used to say they gave me a big dose of chemo because all of my skin, like my whole body got a sunburn, my whole body. It wasn't like I had a zipper, that I wore into the scanner. No, I put the little robe thing on, but my whole body was peeling, all my skin, just like a lizard. My skin was peeling off. And I had Thanksgiving with Dee, my neighbor who was a nurse, and she said, oh, it was just the iodine. It happens all the time. It was just an iodine. It's no big deal. You had a negative, you're allergic to iodine. So for years, I was telling doctors I have an allergy to iodine, but that's not true. I take iodine. So it's like, no, I don't. And now I have done some research to find out that what happened to me was rare, very rare, but it's lethal. It can harm organs. What I've gone through is like, jeez. Only God could have me still alive today. Only God. Let there be light. Only God. Nobody could live through what I've lived through. Wow. So, I keep learning. So now, I don't know, they say that it's time for me to take statins. And there's some rare things that happen for people who take statins. I'm like, well, let's see. I've had the rare experience with the Ambien. I had rare experiences with the Boost Bar and the Paxil and the Metoprolol and the Xarelto and the Diltiazem and the Ativan. I don't think I'm ready for Crestor. Nope. I don't eat poorly, but I'm just going to change how I cook. I'm going to change how I cook what I eat. I just, it's kind of going to be this. Either I'm able to lower my triglyceride, my LDL, or I'm going to die. God will decide. And that's how it's been. In the meantime, I'm going to get those orders vacated. And if I don't, if they don't, if they should say, shit, we need to vacate these orders. We destroyed this woman. They should, out of decency. They won't. And I don't even know that I'm going to ask. I think the thing to do right now is to shame them with everything that I've got, to shame them all, to let any reader read my depositions, not exhibits, for them to go, oh, we don't have space in this file. You should have seen all the stuff I was sending to them when they were trying to extradite me to Seattle in 2018. I sent them testimony from a paralegal I didn't even know, who knew my attackers and knew what they were doing to me was felonies. And she didn't want any part of it. And she felt complicit, and she got a hold of me and she said, you know, I have to tell you, I have evidence, I have text messages proving what they're doing to you. The courts didn't accept it. Judge says, I never saw any of that. Well, I've been sending it to your clerk for the last 2 weeks, you stupid bitch. She was, I called her a Luciferian whore. I did. But it was beautiful. They couldn't touch my Social Security. They tried. She and some attorney named Rhodes. They were trying to take my Social Security in the 20 hours, to pay the 20 hours that he had spent on the case against me, because the psychoanalytical you-know-who had hired him to represent him in this case to extradite me back to Seattle. And they were going to take my Social Security from me to pay him, but they lost the case. They won by taking down my WordPress blog and what else? I can't remember. Mainly my WordPress blog, but they lost. They couldn't take my money, and right there in the hearing, they were crying like Ralphie's parents during the Christmas story when they found out that Ralphie had blindness from soap poisoning. Oh, the judge asked him, how many hours did you work on this case? And he was like, 20 hours. I don't know why he signed on with the psychoanalyst, but I'll tell you this. I was like, man, that guy became my hero in that minute. He had me in the court because he was an asshole, but I'll tell you what, in that moment, getting to listen to those two crying because they couldn't touch my little Social Security monies was beautiful. And knowing that Rhodes guy was going to get ripped off, he must have signed it. He must have thought I had money or something. So he thought he was going to come and get some big bucks with all these billable hours off of me. That was God. That was God. There's been moments of joy, I'll tell you. There has been moments of joy. That was joy. And I cannot help but to think that God is the big equalizer, and I would not want to be them. That's what I know. I would not want to be them. So anyway, that's what's going on over here. It's going to take this forever to download, but I just don't want to take pictures of every page. Yeah, I should finish with, if you get to the end of this, this is the pharmaceutical industry and product liability exposures by Johannes, Johannes Klein, KL. No, I don't have on my glasses. You should be able to Google it. Close, KLOSE. Registered Pharmacist, ARM, PhD, for Alliance Global Corporate and Specialty Pharm Chem Solutions, Zurich, Switzerland. So, okay, if you got this far, wow, you're better than I am. Have a good day.